So we should be visible over on your channel at this moment. I am waiting for this to tell me that it's ready for me. We'll hit the preview. Fine. Oh, right. Let's also actually go back to this view at first.
I wonder what could be causing that. Because, like I said, until I restarted, it was flawless.
Have you done a? Oh, there. That's us. Have you done a speed test? See if you're having just today issues.
Right now.
All right, we are live on both channels, and we are going to have an absolute. Why do I have audio coming? Have you done it? Oh, there. That's us. Have you done a speed test? Sorry about that. Okay, we are live over on both channels, over on the NonSequitur show and on Mr. Atheist channel. We've had, last I checked, at least a few hundred of you on each one. We are going to get going right away because we are starting a little bit late here. But tonight, what we are doing, we are joined by the wonderful and always lovely Aron Ra. I really doubt that anyone doesn't know who you are. Yeah, lovely as ever. I really doubt anyone doesn't know who you are, but Aron, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself anyway, and just on the off chance there's someone.
I'm a Girl Scout troop leader, and that's just kind of my thing there.
That's the entire thing he does. That's it. Yeah, absolutely. So you've been on the NonSequitur show with actual one-on-one debates with Kent Hovind. How many times now?
I wouldn't say that we ever had a debate.
Yeah.
We had a discussion once upon a time.
Okay.
And that, I'm proud to say, that seemed to really be the bamboo that got under his toenail worse than anybody else. He was visibly more butthurt over that incident, I think, in that encounter than anything else he's ever done, until he came up with the idea to do the online video exchange debate, because that obviously widened his colon a little more than he wanted to.
Yeah. All right. Well, so basically today we are doing on the 25th, so just 2 days ago, Kent Hovind put out a new video. Let's get to the view here that everyone can see. So he's called it Proof of Noah's Flood, Epic! Atheists and Aron Ra get schooled by Dr. Kent Hovind. And just a quick reminder to everybody,
Why does he still call himself doctor? We all know better.
Right. That's a self-designation, right?
Yeah, and he'll say, and he has done, he says, well, the doctor doesn't mean anything to me. Yeah, it doesn't mean anything to you, but that's why you put that on everything you do, right, and everything you are.
Right. Oh man, that's so funny. I will say, so I did a video. I don't know if you've seen the videos from this preacher called Kyle Butt. He does some stuff. I actually elevated him myself. I call him Dr. Butt because there's just something fun about saying, hello, Dr. Butt. But that was a personal choice on my end. I enjoyed that. I'd say, Kyle, do you have anything you need to go over before we get started?
I was just going to say, we talked about it briefly before the show started. I'm not referring, since Kent Hovind has an issue with getting Aron's name correct, we should probably return the favor and refer to Kent as inmate number. What is it, Aron?
0645 2017.
0645.
0645 2017.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. But if you want the shorter abbreviation, if you want a less formal, you can also call him Kunt Koresh.
Yeah, Kunt Koresh. That's perfect. Kyle, by the way, I think you can move the mic out of your face for tonight because you are coming in through your iPad's microphone.
It's not coming through here?
No.
No, and I'm not hearing him very well. Are you hearing him all right? Because I hear you a lot better than I hear him.
He's coming in pretty low. Oh, he's going to fix it. Okay. Good. More live troubleshooting. That's always good. Let me go in and make sure his audio is set to automatic gain, so he's going to be loud enough for everybody. So that'll help with it also. And now he's jumping in.
Yeah, I got to say that this video that we're going to be commenting on, this is going to be a real life, same time kind of reaction because I have not seen this video.
And it's filled with, I'd say I've seen the first 5 or 6 minutes of it. It's filled with call outs in your direction. So that's going to be the best part. Real quick, thank you to everyone who is super chatting. We will get to the super chats later on in the show. We'll do them all together. Probably at the very end, because this video is long. We want to get through as much of it as possible here. So let's just jump in, I think. Kyle, you ready? You good?
I'm ready. Is that better?
Oh, yeah, much better. You can hear him better? Aaron, can you hear him okay now?
Yeah, I can hear him better now, yeah.
Great. All right. Yeah, let's do this.
It's going to take me a while to get there. Send it in. I'll try to answer it. So, got my first one. Brother Hovind, at the rate you are going and answering the sun god, it's going to take you 100,000 years to cover and correct every point he is teaching his disciples. I agree. I'm sorry. Can you please skip up to his part 3 and answer what he said between 10-minute and 16-minute?
Okay. I think I stopped it too early, actually. I can keep it going. Is that speed okay for everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's much easier to endure when you speed it up like
Speed
that.
it up. Yeah. Okay, good deal.
3 is this one where it's got the picture of the tree trunk in the background. So let's just play that and see what he says.
Another lie, when you can't really believe because you revealed at other times that you know better. As you have already admitted, different layers do exist, and certain strata are identified by particular fossils that are only found in those layers. You can't explain that, and that already refutes your mythic flood.
Mr. Nelson, I can explain it just fine. Certain fossils are found in certain layers because during any flood, just like our little sand toy that you hate so much, it sorts automatically by density. See, reptiles and birds have a different body density. So if a billion of them drowned in a big catastrophic world event like Noah's flood, the water shuffling them up and down, back and forth, moving around for several months, is going to automatically sort them where all the birds are on top. They have hollow bones, hollow feathers. That's why they're in the same layer, not because of evolution. It's because of hydrologic sorting.
Hydraulic sorting.
So the reason that birds appear before Tyrannosaurus Rex is because birds are lighter than Tyrannosaurus Rex. Yeah. And the reason that different species of forams, which all weigh exactly the same, different species exist below the KT boundary than above the KT boundary, and why they are different sizes. In fact, it's because they weigh a different amount. And the reason that mammals never go below where reptiles first appear, and all of this is because of how much they weigh in the water.
Well, I think it was
obviously
the weight of a mosasaur. The reason that all the mosasaurs appear below the KT boundary, and the reason that the Paleozoic mammals appear above that is because the mosasaur is heavier. But then what about the things that are under the mosasaur, like Dimetrodons that didn't weigh anywhere near that much? Why are they below? So we don't want to talk about that. Yeah, I sense bullshit from Dr.
Dr. Kent Hovind here.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be just stellar to find out that the whole thing was a character and even his voice was just a Jodie Foster impression this whole time?
It'd be great.
Is that just
fantastic?
When I heard hydraulic sorting for the first time, I just about lost it. That's so close. That's so akin to and he condescends to flat earthers.
Yeah.
How's that? How do you condescend? Because don't you both now have a law of density?
Yeah, I'm just wondering why are the birds sorted to be above the trilobites all the time?
Yeah. No,
I love how he talks about your sand toy too, his sand toy. He makes a point to call that out. Before you started this where you're at right now, in the beginning of this video, he actually gets some flack from a couple other Christians because apparently he's got a rash on his arm, and they're giving him hell because he went to a evolutionary based medical doctor for help with that rash. Now he says, to explain that, he says that not everything that they are taught in school is based in evolutionary fact. So he's banking on the little bit that they're not trained in that way that's why they're able to look at this rash on his arm.
At least with medical science, they can explain why a medicine works, right? Why does a certain concoction actually work? And they can show you what in detail if they want. How the receptors in different parts of organisms work. For different chemical this was the impressive thing for me when I took biology, is I still believed in that there might be some kind of a spiritual component to life. I mean, like most people believe that. But when I took college level biology and they started showing me at the molecular level about how these things operate, I'm like, oh, yeah, there's not any need for any of this. But at least they can show you in science, in evolution, which is science, they can show you how things work. And then what do we have with him? What does he got? You say mumbo jumbo while spinning a chicken over your head, and that's what heals you?
Prayer, obviously.
I don't want to spoil the video for anybody, and thank you for the notes on sound. Hopefully everything is better now. Hopefully I'm not echoing as much, and everybody's level should be even. So looking the few minutes ahead I've seen, he definitely is going to resort to literal what-if magic arguments. I promise that's coming.
All right, bring it. I don't want to spend too much time on this, so let's go.
Yeah.
But you cannot seem able to learn, okay? The reptiles are found in a similar layer because reptiles have a similar body density. They're sorted on. I covered this all in video number 6. Watch video 6, Mr. Nelson. I'll send you a copy free.
Wait. Reptiles all have a similar body density. This is the guy who said that lizards, and he said that it was a possibility that Jackson's chameleon, if it lived for 900 years, it could become a triceratops. That there's no way to know, he thinks. There's no way to know whether a lizard, specifically Jackson's chameleon, a modern lizard, could become a triceratops. He doesn't realize that dinosaurs had hollow bones, right? He doesn't know it. He doesn't know that they were warm-blooded. He doesn't know that there's these huge distinctions between dinosaurs and lizards. He thinks they're all the same damn thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why certain reptiles, like ichthyosaurs, for example, always show up in below mosasaurs. Well, what's the hell's the difference? Why are the ichthyosaurs on the bottom and the mosasaurs on the top? They're both ocean-going reptiles. They all have the same density. I'm trying to think of something that has the same density as Dr. Hovind here.
You're going to be hard pressed to find someone as dense as Dr. Hovind.
The sand toy.
Yeah.
The sand toy. Doesn't he make the argument too that because of the flood and the fall of man, that that's the reason why things don't live to be 900 anymore, and things were bigger back then, and so that's what dinosaurs actually were, and so that they walked with mankind because they were just bigger reptiles. They're still here today
And he thinks they breathed fire because that there was some point that oxygen rates were lower or maybe higher. I don't know what the hell the argument was, but dinosaurs needed a lot of oxygen, and they have these tiny nostrils, and the friction causing the air blowing through the nostrils caused them to set fire.
Wow. That's great. That's comedy gold.
Oh, man. All right, let's keep it.
Which we know for certain could not and definitely did not really happen.
So you know for certain Noah's flood could not and did not happen. Explain why it could not happen. If the crust of the earth flexes up and down, my globe that the flat earthers hate. Ouch. By the way, the Flat Earth Society is spreading around the globe. Yeah.
Again, who is he to condescend?
I gotta say again, Kyle, you gotta have this guy. You got to have this guy come on and debate Jeranism. You've got to do that because that would be that would be too fucking funny.
That would be the greatest.
He won't come on our show anymore because of what happened with you last time. He refuses to have anything else to do because you beat him too bad. So that's
what the hell? Let him set up his own venue. But this has got to happen. We got to have Cunt Koresh taking on somebody like Jism and do. This would be brilliant because it would be the first time that inmate 0645-2017 has ever done science, and he'd have to use science, and he could win if he could just figure out how to do science. It'd be so easy to do.
Who would we pull for, though? I don't like the idea of pulling for Kent Hovind for anything.
That would be a tough one. That would be a tough one. Jeranism, is he still going about? I thought he had already proved. He had that embarrassing video where he accidentally proved the curve of the Earth.
Right.
Is he still going?
He hasn't done much since then. But did you see that?
Oh, I didn't know about this.
Okay, so he's on this beach, and he's got a board with 2 holes in it, right? And he says that the Earth curves if you can see the light from the top hole, not the bottom hole. And sure enough, it went straight through that top hole, and his exact words to that were, "Well, that's interesting."
As I recall, the other guy that was out there with him came up with a magical explanation, correct? It was something like fairy lights or something. It was something.
And they all do. I gotta hear Kyle cunt's bullshit excuse about how I already proved the flood didn't happen, but he's going to ignore all that and pretend that it did.
Okay, so the worst part is, and again, I'm the worst at spoiling. He's just going to go after you saying could not and try and come up with this fantasy like there's enough water inside the earth to cover the world with 1.6 miles. And so he's going to focus on...
he references his own video 6, but I have it in my video first. I think it was the first one, actually, that says that there is no water in the earth like he's talking about. There is trace amounts of water because we have a lot of water on this planet. There are trace amounts of water connected to a lot of sedimentation, but there's not oceans of oceans,
right?
Which is what he would require. And he also wants there to be this stifling ice ball that floats in space and surrounds the Earth, and that's what he thinks that the firmament is.
Right.
So that all at once the continents all exploded to half, and the firmament all fell down, and somehow we survived this.
Is he one of the ones?
I cover all this in my video number 1 of how I disproved Noah's flood.
Your impression is really, really good. Is he one of the ones who thinks the crater on the moons were filled with the water?
No. That's the other guy whose name will not be mentioned again.
Okay.
The one I don't know what it is, but every time I've seen him on video, that guy, the guy with the big headphones, for whatever reason, it just always occurs to me that he's not wearing pants.
Wait,
I don't know why. I just have this fat guy sitting there in really dirty Fruit of the Looms. I don't know why.
Are one of you?
I don't wear pants either.
Are one of you wearing pants? Is somebody here wearing pants?
I don't wear pants.
You'd be lucky to find me with underwear on this show.
Okay. The next time I do a podcast like this, I'll just full Porky Pig it.
Absolutely.
It just got really awkward.
This is what happens when I come on. I'm trying to fix your... there we go. That'll make Kyle look a little less like he has braces. You were keying out on your teeth for some reason. All right, here we go.
Oh, sweet.
If the crust of the Earth flexes up and down like we know it does, I mean, the crust of the Earth is about 10 miles thick. That is thinner than the paper on this globe if you do it scaled up like that. The thickness of this paper would be too much to represent the crust of the Earth. Yeah, a piece of paper is the thickness.
We get
it. Inside it's molten magma and other things. And the Earth is flexing a little bit. Just because of the spin, it bulges out, I think, 26 miles compared to the pole. The poles collapse a little bit. It's still rounder and smoother than a cue ball. Yeah. If you shrunk it down to the size of a cue ball, kept everything the same, you couldn't find Mount Everest on the cue ball. If it was shrunk down that small. It's smoother and rounder than the cue ball. But it is bulged a little bit at the equator. And don't make any comments about me, okay?
Did he just make a bold comment?
That's not because...
He did.
Did he just make a bold comment?
That was about his dick. That was what that was. Yeah.
Look at Arn's face.
What's worse
I don't want to know.
It gets worse.
That's excellent.
It gets worse. Hang on, here goes.
Now, how do people listen to him and not realize that, hey, no geologist agrees with him except the one that's being paid by Answers in Genesis?
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
Lack of Googling.
Yeah. That's about what it takes.
Continue.
Anna, be quiet, okay? So, the crust of the Earth flexing up and down. Suppose the higher parts of the Earth, like the mountain ranges, continents, sank down a couple of miles. Average heights of the continents is only 2.5 miles high. That's from here to the other side of Lennox. That's the average height of the continents. Mount Everest is only 5 miles high. That's from here to Repton. That's the tallest mountain in the world. Okay? Oceans average 13,000 feet deep, over 2 miles deep. That's the average. If you smooth out the crust of the Earth, the water would be 1.6 miles deep everywhere. What do you mean Noah's flood could not happen? You're insane, sir.
I mean that according to actual physicists and actual geologists and actual scientists of a collection of different fields, they've all said that what you just said is absolute bullshit. That even if it was completely,
right.
This is the Walt, or what was it, Walt Brown came up with this idea that everything was completely smooth, and then you had this, like, the hydroplate theory, which was completely debunked. It's like, I think Walt Brown's theory was the only theory anybody had ever suggested might be a theory. It was actually a hypothesis, but he posited it as a theory, and it's the only one that was disproved by science as opposed to being disproved by children. It really is. It's the only one that was ever presented as a science that was completely falsified. So all the water that's under the Earth and the folds in the Earth and all of the tectonic plates and all of the stratigraphy that I know he denies, all of this stands against him. And I just want to do a summary answer. Obviously don't want to go in depth. If you want to see in depth, I interviewed a number of scientists to cover how geology disproves the flood, how meteorology disproves the flood, how archaeology disproves the flood, and so on. And that is in my 8-part series. You can put the list of that, or the link to that playlist down below if you like.
Well, you can't say it couldn't have happened because you're totally forgetting about wizardry. You're forgetting about Harry Potter. You're forgetting about all of the magical things. What if it had just all become smooth? Precisely why it couldn't have happened. Jesus Christ.
It certainly could happen. There's enough water here to cover the Earth 1.5 miles deep. Stop saying dumb stuff like that.
Yeah, no, there's not.
Choose to learn. I'll correct you again, though. Sweetly in Christian love.
He just said sweetly in Christian love right after he was
I also
calling...
talk about the height that he promotes, and Ron Wyatt, who he also bought into, promoted this idea that in the Drupanar site that they had found Noah's Ark. What they found was a vaguely canoe-shaped rock formation, and the reason that it was canoe-shaped is because water runoff tends to do that. When there's an obstruction in the way, it goes either way around it and then maybe closes on the other side.
Right.
So what's funny about that is that you have this vaguely canoe-shaped object, and the Bible does not ever describe the ark as a boat. It's a box. That's why it's called an ark.
Right.
Like the Ark of the Covenant. That was not the boat of the covenant, right? So it's a box.
Right.
So it was never supposed to be canoe-shaped. It was never supposed to have a keel and a rudder and all of this like Ken Ham's boat has. But what he's talking about here in the Drupanar site, which is on one of the 2 peaks of Mount Ararat, you have this site which is 2 kilometers above sea level. I'm just doing this off the top of my head from memory, but it's at such an altitude that it would require, just for the boat to have gotten that high, if it was a boat and it was that high, there'd be no way for the water to ever get that high. If all the water in the world was involved, there'd be no way to flood the world to that height. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's no way even, and you can't flatten it out, because how the hell did it get there? Ararat is a volcano, right? And then they say that the flood caused all of these ripples. Well, if it caused all of these ripples and it caused all these mountains, then it caused that mountain, which is a volcano, which is easy to see how it would cause that mountain. So how did the boat end up on top of it? It would have to have been there, right, for it to be there. So it has to be at that depth. So the thing has to be 2 kilometers deep over what it is already, which we know that can't be. What
about some kind of hydraulic sorting elevator?
Aron, people in the live chat want to know before we go on what the beer of the night is.
Oh, okay. Well, that one. Let me see here. That one is Barrel Aged Legion.
Oh, sweet.
Which let me see. Yeah, and that is I don't know. I can't see the ABV on it, but it ought to be up there.
I was having a sparkling water from the. It was a 1998 Dasani. It was
good year.
Yeah, good year.
Okay, and just to keep everybody up, I'm gonna move from that to Black Matter, which is a fairly fine imperial stout, and then after that, I'm sure I'm gonna go to this way.
Nice.
Do you have any of your beer left?
I drank all of my beer. I have one empty bottle. The next batch of that, and I drank this yesterday. The next batch of that is promised to be a bourbon barrel aged, and I'm looking forward to that. But I swear, the guy doesn't make it fast enough.
You're gonna want, as bad as this get, you're gonna want to probably get a needle. You're gonna need to mainline this stuff. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
he
does address the cube thing about the ark. He does explain why it's an actual boat and not a box, like you were saying, Aron.
Is that in this video?
Yes, it is.
Oh, good. New crap.
Yep.
I've got a whole series citing professional scientists and the facts to prove that, but...
You got a whole series of professional scientists citing facts to prove it could not be a flood. You're hanging around the wrong crowd, son. You need to get some intelligent people to hang around, okay?
That's
wait. Instead of hanging out with professional scientists and professors and world-famous physicists and so forth, I should hang out with cult leaders in backwoods Alabama.
Oh, yes, that seems to add up to me. Makes sense in my book.
It's a party.
Yeah. The point here is that in the 19th century, these fossils that are only found in specific layers were referred to as index fossils to tell the layers apart. And that's where we get the names Cambrian, Devonian, Jurassic, and so on.
Correct. They found certain fossils on certain layers and said, well, reptiles are generally found in this layer. So they gave it a name. You still don't get it. That's hydrologic sorting from Noah's flood. That's not proof of a different era. You guys refuse to believe that, though.
But the only way to date the layers was relative
Anything for that?
I already dealt with that.
Yeah, let's keep going.
to each other, being aware that one layer of dirt obviously had to be younger than the one below it. And
That's the mistake. One layer had to be younger than the one below it. That's not true. Not if they're deposited horizontally. Tell you what, I can make about 20 layers in about 3 minutes on this thing, all at the same time. Huh. You're simply mistaken.
But you
Mr.
can't
Nelson.
actually do that at the same time. Even his sand toy doesn't do them at exactly the same time.
Right.
But when look at some of the deposits here. Look at like limestone, for example. Limestone takes time. You can't just shuffle and spill and it all falls down and you have layers of different and then you have layers of limestone. That doesn't work. You can't do that sort of sorting doesn't happen. And then like a video that I'm working on right now, for example, talks about the KT boundary, right? The iridium layer. How the hell does he deal with that? For example, it's something you can show all around the world, right? You have dinosaur fossils up to this point. You have that little thin line of clay that has iridium in it, where typically we don't find iridium anywhere. It's very rare on Earth, in fact. And then above that line, no dinosaurs anymore. Is it because they were heavy, including the little ones? And somehow the trilobites are down there with the heavy things, but always below the heavy things? That doesn't make any sense, does it? And then we have the little animals like Purgatorius are above that.
Yeah.
Hyracotherium is above that. Why is that?
Do you all know in kindergarten where you get that, not even kindergarten, probably before that, you get that toy that's usually a box and you fit the shape, the circle goes in the circle, the square goes in the square, triangle in the triangle.
Tetris.
I think Kent Hovind thinks that that's a literal like representation of how God handled all of these fossils. He was like, here's the earth. All right, let's put this in the limestone. Let's put this in. I think it's just simply that. He thinks everything is just placed.
I've encountered a number of religious believers, not all of them, to be sure, but I've encountered a few who know and on rare occasions will even admit that what they believe is not really true, but they're going to believe it anyway. That's Hovind, right? This guy, Kunt Koresh here, he knows that what he believes, that he's make-believe. He knows that what he's saying is not really true, that what he believes is not really true. Certainly what he's trying to convince his followers to believe is not really true. Right. But he's got a great scam going. He's in a position where the best he could have hoped for would be to work in a multi-level marketing scheme or to sell used cars, since they can't sell snake elixir anymore. Yeah. So he's got this scam where all he has to do is pretend to sound confident about things he doesn't know anything at all about. And as long as he sounds confident about the absolute bullshit he spills, then somebody who never got an education beyond a single wide trailer like himself will buy into the bullshit that he's selling.
Mm-hmm.
That's like in a nutshell. I grew up as a Mormon, and that's Mormonism in a nutshell. And they're the same way because they believe in a literal Noah's flood, but they know it didn't happen. And now they're in this really inconvenient place, and I love pointing this out to them, where all of the like major religions are going and saying Adam and Eve was a metaphor. It didn't really happen. Catholicism, I believe now, even is backing off of Adam and Eve being literal people. But they can't because they've actually made it a central part of their doctrine and a central part of their temple ceremonies, and so they know it isn't that it didn't happen, but if they admit it out loud, it makes the church not true, which they can't handle.
Yep,
exactly.
He would be you mentioned used car salesman. He would be actually a fantastic used car salesman.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Every single one of them, every single car he's ever sold was just driven by a little old lady on Sunday to get to church and learn this nonsense.
It's great.
Yeah.
I would never buy a used car from a man in a Hawaiian shirt.
Many times, but you refuse to listen or learn.
Older than the one.
Do you like how he says that I refuse to learn? This is something that bothers me. I spent my life learning. That's all I did.
Yeah.
The greatest progress I've ever made is when I've been proven to be wrong about something that I held to be true for a long time and have been forced to change my mind. It's happened.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the reason that I did that video, it turns out we did come from monkeys, that was as a result of a months-long argument that I had with a professional scientist who who, by the way, was not polite at all. He certainly didn't. He certainly didn't convince me by being so sweet and kind. This was a vicious argument, and I hated having to eat crow in front of that asshole.
Yeah. But
after some strong deliberation over the argument that we had, I had to realize, you know what? That the motherfucking prick is right.
Yeah. That's rough. The hard part. The hard part when I see people like Kent, and one of the main like themes on my channel is all about indoctrination and the way people try and change not just what you learn, but the way you learn. Kent, if this isn't all a bullshit act because it pays well, which I think it's probably about 50-50, hasn't learned how to learn, which I know sounds like a paradox, but he doesn't.
This is the funny thing. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good. You're good.
Thank you. His family, I've seen public statements. I was surprised to find them, but a lot of people who know him, a lot of his friends, a lot of his relatives have posted that he is narcissistic, that he will not take correction, that he has been repeating the same errors for decades and will never fix them. It doesn't matter if he knows that they're wrong. He won't hear that they're wrong. Right. He's one of those people, and he demonstrated this by going to prison for 10 years and then making up 3 or 4 contradictory lies about why he went to prison. It was a dumb law. He didn't violate any law, but if he did violate a law, it was just a dumb law, or it didn't apply to him because he was from the Republic of Florida, which is somehow separate from the federal United States, and he didn't do structuring except that the court proved that he knew he was doing structuring on purpose.
Right.
So he's one of these people that he can spend 10 years of his life in prison and walk out never admitting he did a damn thing wrong. He cannot admit a mistake.
Ever.
That's a problem.
Him and
I have to. Yep. The only way you can improve is by finding what you did wrong and fixing it. And I've been proven wrong before. I'm looking forward to the next time somebody proves me wrong. You know why? Because it means I won't be wrong about that anymore.
Right. I don't think it's going to be Hovind, though. I don't think he's going to be the one.
The true sign to me of somebody that's honest or like actually seeking to know the truth and not just espouse bullshit is when you ask them the question, what could change your mind, or are you willing to change your mind? If people like him and Ken Ham have always famously answered, well, there's nothing that can change my mind because the Bible's true no matter what. And if you're not willing to change your mind, then you're not honestly looking for truth, I don't think.
I had an argument like that. I had an argument like that today, and I don't want to go into the details about who it was or what it was about. But he accused me several times. This was a real-time discussion, and it was not recorded. But he accused me several times of being irrational and having some kind of a strange religious attachment to whatever position that or whatever reason that I wouldn't accept the bullshit he was saying. And I'm saying I'm not accepting it because it is bullshit. If you show me that you have a definition. If you want to show me that this exists, show me how to define what that is. Show me that the scientific community agrees that is the definition of what this is. Then show me that the criteria for that you have that this is what the scientific community says would be the criteria for that, and that you have it, and then I'll say, hey, I'll look at the peer-reviewed stuff that shows that you have the scientific consensus that you are correct. Right, that the experts have reviewed this, and instead he didn't want to give me that. He wants to give me a video on YouTube by some guy who makes the argument that he wants to believe in, and so some scientists believe this and some scientists don't. So, well, then you don't have the objective evidence, do you? Well, they have their evidence, we have our. How can they have their evidence? You don't have their evidence. If they have evidence, you have the same evidence.
Yeah,
well, they don't agree on the evidence. Well, duh. That means they didn't fucking evidence.
I always love when it comes to the people who are like, you just can't stand to be wrong, or they make it about your personality and they're like, you can't stand to be wrong, you're set in your ways. And I'm like, look at my life. 10 years ago, I am a Mormon, conservative, what else is changed? I mean, just a dramatic amount just in that. Mormon means an awful lot to your identity, and conservatives too. And now I'm an atheist liberal. Do you know how much stuff you have to admit to about being wrong, about being an actual sexist and racist and homophobe as I was to get to where I am now, an atheist, liberal, pansexual? Let me tell you, the transition from homophobe to pansexual, it takes admitting you're wrong at least once. At least the one time. And I have a man
bun.
And I've had a lot of those changing opinions too, where I've had, and there's some people say you don't want to talk about that because you don't want people to think badly about you. And I'm like, well, I think badly. I got to be honest. Yeah. I think badly about who I was when I was like in my teens and 20s. That guy was a jerk.
Yeah.
And of course, I wouldn't have realized it at that time. There'd be no way you could convince me what an ass I was. But in reflection, I'm just embarrassed about everything that I believed and all the opinions that I had. That was an arrogant fucking prick, that guy.
Yeah. I that's kind of it's for two reasons. I think on my channel I'm very open about the shit person I used to be. One, because I think it's a good way to teach others and show people where they're coming from, and two, just because I don't want to lose my entire career if somebody goes and finds. I've been very open about there probably is a recording somewhere of me, a different person 10 years ago, casually using the N-word. Like, I sucked, and I am. It was a rough.
It is better that you own that. It is better that you admit that now than having somebody else call you out for
it.
Did you see what happened to Paula Dean?
yeah, exactly. And it wasn't like it wasn't, not that I'm trying to. I also was a racist. However, I never used it in the racial way. It was always like you're playing video games and using it as casually as someone might use dude. And the amount that it was there, like. There's got to be a video somewhere. I'm only 28 years old. 10 years ago, cameras were already everywhere. So,
if they're not looking before, they are now.
Yeah.
I was fortunate, and I grew up in the 80s. Where nothing was recorded.
And so before we hit play, I'll just also confirm that yes, I am somewhere on Pornhub, but my face isn't in there. So good luck with the rest of your evening, everyone who's going to go look for that.
I used to work at an adult video rental, and I remember just passing the time flipping through one of the magazines that I recognized my best friend, the guy I was living with at that time.
That's awesome.
Okay, since we're all admitting things that we're ashamed of, let me just go ahead and own this. I actually at one point really liked Nickelback. I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm so sorry.
That's the worst of everything we've talked about so far.
No, I know.
That's it. You can't be a Supreme Court justice now.
You're out.
That's actually legit. That's actually legit.
Kavanaugh can, but not you. Oh, what a world we live in.
Let's continue.
We got to keep
Let's hear what Kent has to say.
Yeah.
Those layers had to go down in this order.
Stand up for you.
However, we initially couldn't actually date the rocks because, as you well know, the fossils don't give any indication as to how old each layer is.
Now notice what he just admitted. The fossils don't give any indication of how old the layers are. Are you saying you don't know the age of the fossils then, without dating it from the layer? I'll show you right from the books later, there's not time tonight, but they date the fossils by which layer they're found in. But then they date the layers by which type of fossils are found in them. Complete circular reasoning.
And I got to stop you here. I've already corrected him on this, but of course he will never get to that correction.
Right.
And I've seen other creationists do this too. They used to do these creation tours. They'd go into the museum, they'd take a bunch of kids, and then they would lie to them about what, and they would say this exact lie. And in one of those instances, the guy was standing in front of a sign that explained what the truth is, and he just completely didn't. Somehow he didn't see it, so he's being interviewed on camera, and the sign explaining it is behind him, explaining the way it really is. So they don't date the layers by the fossils. They identify the layers by the fossils. And what I mean by that, because I know some people do say that they date the layers because you can tell by index. If I find trilobites, if I'm digging around in the dirt and I find trilobites, then I assume this layer has got to be from the Paleozoic, right? This is not a Mesozoic layer. Now, have I dated that? I've dated it relative. So I know that the Paleozoic is older than, say, the Triassic, for example, any Mesozoic rock. But I haven't. It doesn't show how old it is.
Right.
Now, how do we know how old it is? Older than Triassic doesn't tell me how old it is.
Yeah.
Younger than Cambrian doesn't tell me how old it is. So the way they have this is these layers. The Cambrian layer is worldwide. The Triassic layer is worldwide. That the KT boundary is worldwide. So they find them all around the world. They can find these layers. In various places, those layers may be interrupted by lava flows or other datable means, so that you can take metamorphic rock or igneous rock and you can date that rock. And if it's an intrusion into that place, then that gives you a date for that layer. So they give a range of dates by dating it radiometrically around the world. And so now we have, if it was dated somewhere in Suriname, right, we have this intrusion into Triassic rock that puts it at 190 million years to this formation. Okay, well then we have part of that range, right? So now we know that trilobites are going to be older than, say, 251 million years. This is how we establish that.
Right.
Radiometrically. Kent knows that.
Right.
He's been corrected on this over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But while he's accusing me, because I do a lot of projection, while he's accusing me of not learning, he's making very clear he is not learning.
Yeah.
He knows better than this, and he's repeating the failure anyway.
Yeah, it's literally just like watching Banana Man talk about evolution. I've heard you be corrected on this 900 times, and every time you're in a conversation, you act, okay, go ahead and correct me, like you're going to listen this time, and at least he pretends he's going to listen. But, oh man. All right.
Number 4 for more on that.
Video number 4.
The first attempt to date them was an attempt to date the age of the Earth as a whole. But Lord Kelvin, who was one of Darwin's contemporaries and a critic of evolution in favor of intelligent design, used the laws of thermodynamics, which he devised himself, to conclude that the Earth and the Sun both had to be at least 20 million years old.
Hold it. You are simply mistaken, sir, or deliberately lying. He might have concluded that it would take 20 million years for the Earth, at the rate it was cooling. He was using the laws of thermodynamics, the rate of the Earth losing heat. He said, okay, our crust is X number of miles thick. It's losing so much heat per day. Well, it would take 20 million years to cool from a molten mass to what it is. Well, that's assuming it started as a molten mass. Duh. What if it started created for man to live on, and since then it's cooled down a few degrees?
Okay, so halt just for a moment here.
Yeah.
Yes, Kelvin obviously did assume that it began as a molten mass.
Mm-hmm.
Then, and we know this. So what did I say that was either false or deliberately deceptive?
So he's suggesting, this is back in the realms of could, he's suggesting that doesn't prove it takes 20 million years, and I think he finishes it right here.
But
this
that's
is where
not
I said
I said that Kelvin calculated that.
He's saying that
and
because...
Kelvin did calculate that. So my statement is exactly correct. Yet Dick Kiss here is calling me a liar for it.
He's saying that it doesn't actually prove that because you haven't included the possibility of God creating it in place, partially molten, partially whatever else.
Were you there?
I lied about Kelvin doing this calculation. Kelvin didn't do the calculation based on it originally being created as a Garden of Eden.
Right.
Obviously, Lord Kelvin started from a different premise. My statement is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
I'm neither false nor lying.
But you did omit the possibility of wizardry, so...
No, I didn't. Show me that there is a possibility worthy of omission.
Were you there, Aron? Were you there?
When Kelvin did the calculation? I can only go by what the man said.
I think he's going with the Ken Ham version of when the Earth came into appearance, and
were you there? Were you there? Were you there?
You weren't there.
So Lord Kelvin did not prove it's at least.
Good.
Unlike Kent Koresh here, I do not lie with every other sentence. I don't lie.
It takes too much.
He makes a business out of it.
It's too much to keep track of when you lie this much. It really is exhausting.
I'm frequently accused of lying, always by religious believers.
Yeah.
I'm accused of lying, right? Well, on occasion you might be able to, because I'm a mere fallible human being.
Sure.
On occasion I will say things that are wrong. Now, either because I misspoke or because I didn't do sufficient research, whatever. I mean, it's happened. In my Foundational Falsehoods of Creationism, for example, every other video has some random factoid in it that some pedant would get in the comments and say, that's not actually correct. It's actually this. Mm-hmm. And I would have to admit later that obviously that's what that is, if they're right. Mm-hmm. Right. And maybe I can defend myself, but not always. I mean, sometimes they're right, and I said something that was wrong. But that's quite a bit different than lying.
Right.
Yeah. And in this case, I've already done the documentation. I've already done the research to show that that's what Kelvin said. Right. I read what Kelvin said, and so Hovind can't tell me when I say that this is what Kelvin said. He can't tell me that's not what Kelvin said.
Right. That's the difference.
Unless he can provide another document written by Kelvin where Kelvin said I didn't say that, and then we got a mystery, don't we?
Yeah, then we've got something.
How many videos do you think Kent has of him going back in and putting those little footnotes where he is incorrect on things? I bet not.
According to his own family and friends and children,
never. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I deleted part of my last attack on Kent Koresh here because I realized it was just personal and it didn't have anything to do with the debate at all. But it bothered me that this guy really does believe in anti-vax things, and he believes like in every type of conspiracy theory, and he absolutely hates medicine. And while he may get treatment for his arm and then try to justify the hypocrisy to his followers, like you just brought up before,
yeah,
what I'm seeing online is that his own family, Kent's own family, abandoned him, disavowed him when he denied his own firstborn son medical treatment and made a written statement that he would not provide medical treatment for that son. And I don't know exactly what the situation is. Right. I don't know exactly what the situation is, but that son did not grow up with Kent ever after that. He went into his brother's custody, and reportedly, I don't know what it is, but what I've read online says that the scars of that denial of medical care is something that child has to live through as a condition that child still has.
What?
So that's what a lowlife Kent Koresh is. And he's going to accuse me of lying?
Meanwhile, he's off to the doctor each week. That was the part we skipped on the video, was him basically defending that he's still going to doctors and not just praying and stuff. Yeah. All right, we got to keep moving.
Exactly. Like I said, I don't want to talk about things that I don't know, and all I know is what I've read from his family.
Right.
And I haven't read a whole lot, and so that's why I say, you know what, I'm not even going to include this in the video. I'm just going to stick to the points.
Sure.
Yeah.
And pull that out. But if this guy's going to continuously call me a liar when everything I say is correct and nothing he ever says is, then I'm going to have to make little comments like this at times.
Unleash the guns. I didn't know he was an anti-vaxxer. Okay, Jimmy.
The scariest thing about somebody who lies this much is that apparently he can be president in America. That's President Hovind, our lifetime. We'll see.
Oh, God. Yeah. You know what, though? That might... I was going to say that might be better than the one we have now, but I caught myself.
Are you kidding me?
It's
the best thing. I don't want. Let's not get into politics. Yeah. Let's just say that probably the best thing about our current disaster in chief is that his incompetence is the reason we're still alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
That could be. Okay. All right. Yeah. We'll keep it going.
20 million years old. You are simply lying or mistaken. You've been corrected on this before. I'll continue. I enjoy correcting you on stuff like this.
I have not been corrected on this at any point ever in my life. No one has ever corrected me on this. Not you, nor anyone else. You know what? I'm correct.
Yeah, you can't be corrected when you're right.
Nobody can show any citation of anybody correcting me on the already correct statement I made. Right. You, sir, Kent, are the one who is lying.
Yeah, for a living.
Wait till I get healthy.
That was him about how he's got the flu.
I'm being told in the live chat that he, I didn't know this, but he actually married one of the, a big leader of the anti-vax movement. Mary Toko.
Yep. Wow. Surprise.
That's why I mentioned in my last video about him, I mentioned I mentioned that any random Joe, I'm going to call him Joe, even if they spell their name like a girl spells Joe, because that was his first wife, J-O, Hovind. And I said, or you could eat, drink, and be merry, Hovind. I understand nobody is using that name anymore, because because Mary changed her name back.
I assumed Anna was his wife because he yelled about the bulge earlier. He was like, Anna, don't say anything about my bulge.
I think that's number 3 because I'm not certain about this either, but it seems that he may have married a third one before he divorced the second one. Yeah, because he declared that annulled, and on the excuse and I got this from a great source, Steven Anderson. Another fundamental Baptist who's had this long video, and I deleted the video as this huge rant from Steven Anderson talking about what an amoral fuck Kent Hovind is.
It was great. It was great
Yeah, for declaring himself married to this woman and then declaring himself divorced because she was, if she's not a believer, then the marriage is annulled. But Stephen Anderson goes on about how she's an avid believer. She's a complete Christian. She just doesn't believe in you.
It's funny how
it was brilliant. I like the fact that I found one thing that Stephen Anderson and I can agree on, and that's what a repugnant punk Kent Hovind is.
Yeah.
Not homosexual, by the way.
Yeah, Stephen Anderson is not it. So I did this video a while back. It was about him, Matt Powell, and Josh Feuerstein, just showing some of the stuff. It was called like the Christians Who Drive Me.
Does Josh Feuerstein hang with him?
No. It was so this was just a video that was about like the kinds of. It was called the kinds of Christians that drive me bananas, and it had started because Matt Powell came to my channel and called me a faggot, and so he actually asked the question, "Are you a faggot, man?" But he forgot the comma, so I assumed he was. I assumed he was asking if I was the superhero faggot man, and I decided to don that mantle in the video.
We all know who that is.
Yeah, well, anyway, at the very end, we ended with Stephen Anderson doing this thing with a couple of screws that he's hitting together. He goes, "This is ludicrous. You get nothing from this." And so I said, "Listen, there's this idea out there that all homophobes are secretly homosexuals, and I don't want that. I'm not a fan of that joke. So let me just say very clearly, Stephen Anderson is not a secret homosexual." But then right after that, there's about 10 more YouTubers in a row just saying that line. Stephen Anderson is not a secret, and so it's kind of a running joke.
Stephen Anderson is not
a secret homosexual.
Let me tell you how dumb. Just so people put it in perspective. Somebody in the live chat just reminded me. This is how dumb Kent Hovind is. Aron, remember when you had that? You're gonna have that debate with George Lujak, but it lasted all of like 15 minutes before that was too much. George Lujak has a takedown of Kent Hovind on his channel.
I would watch that, but that would mean that he'd play clips from Hovind, and I'd have to listen to both of them.
Yeah,
yeah, it's rough, but that.
I'd like to have an erection again. I'd like to have an erection again sometime this year, so I can't watch that video. That just won't do.
Now, let's get on with this. How much more of this video do we have left?
So there is 23 minutes left, but I don't think there's 33 minutes left. So I think let's give them another like 5 to 10. I don't think we're going to have to watch the whole thing to point out how dishonest he is.
Then he found out about nuclear fusion and the heat produced within the Earth by radioactive decay, and he was forced to push his estimates out much further. As you well know, there was a period of many years where the more these pioneers learned about radioactive decay, the older things.
Did you notice how Hovind didn't comment when Kelvin found out about radioactive decay?
Yeah. Because
if he knew about that, or if he let his followers in the room know about that, well, then that would overturn that whole circular argument about, they date the fossils by the layers, or they date layers by the fossils. That would completely dispute that. So we can't mention that.
Well, God put everything there in a semi-state of decay, is that's the obvious answer. God was like, I'm just going to decay half of this. That was the whole spiel.
And I'm going to create light halfway on the way to the Earth.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an actual Ken Ham argument. Does he believe in that too? Hovind believes that the stars that we can see past 6,000 light years.
I don't know, honestly.
I don't know what Hovind's deal is. I know that he doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
Much.
Yeah.
I mean, he made a challenge. Somebody told me that he challenged me to take a science test. And I think it would be a bucket of chuckles if Hovind and I both took a science test, but we'd have to be in the same room and it'd have to be monitored some way because, whatever
he was a biology teacher, Aron.
Yeah.
He was a biology teacher for 15 years.
No, he said he was a science teacher, and he was a science teacher in a Christian school, which means that he taught not science.
I think as soon as you get the science test completed, maybe head over to the building next door and have him complete a dementia test. Maybe.
And there's another thing. He also brags about being rated as a 160 IQ. When he took a IQ test he took an IQ test in elementary school. I also took an IQ test in elementary school. And I also was rated as a genius.
Yeah.
But I remember being 8 years old and thinking, what difference does it make if what the IQ is when I'm 8?
Yeah.
Yep.
And 2, at 8 years old, I realized that you're measuring on a linear scale. You know, you're rating up to 130 to 160, whatever it is. That's how do you can't rate people's intelligence like that, because we know that people have the ability to function mathematically better than calculators, and yet those same people may be completely atrophied when it comes to communication skills or social skills or
right.
or anything that people would normally call common sense, right? And you have people with inordinate talent who can't think mathematically, but who can figure out logic beautifully. So there are aptitudes in different directions. This is obviously not a linear scale. This is three-dimensional. Intelligence, or what you want to call IQ, is clearly 3D. Now, I'm not saying that that's a profound discovery. I am pointing out that I figured that out when I was 8.
Right, right. It speaks to there is some level of intellect required to have the amount of denial this guy has. So maybe he's got something in there. I kind of doubt. I think he took an IQ test on Facebook, and what he actually found out.
I took an IQ test when I was 8 years old. It showed that I was a genius. I'm sure he took a similar test.
I think he found out he's
about that, because I know how flawed those tests were then. I'm saying that as someone who, like him, was rated as a genius in elementary school, like he admits was true of him too. So he's admitting we're on the same field there. The difference being, I continued my education beyond 8.
Yeah.
And I'm honest.
I'm standing by my thing. I don't think he took an IQ test. I don't even think it was an IQ test on Facebook. I think he took a Sex and the City test, and he found out he's a Miranda. That's what I think happened.
Well, he also talked about how he's a math teacher, right? But wasn't he on part 4 of a debate that only had 2 rounds to it?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, he went on to round 3 and round 4, both without me.
He's an overachiever. He's an overachiever.
Oh, fuck, for the love of God, for anybody who actually had this man as a teacher at some point.
I think he gets to the vote after this.
Okay, go ahead.
We'll keep moving then.
I'm sorry, I'm
it's
having
not the
too much
older
fun.
things turned out to be because they learned about carbon dating and stuff like that, radiometric dating. It's the more time they needed to turn their frog to a prince. They realized all the problems with turning a frog to a prince and said, whoa, this isn't long enough, we need more time. They keep adding time because they're desperate to turn their frog to a prince. That's why they keep adding more time.
Until we now have
you see how he gets indignant? As if he's actually got something?
Yes.
That's probably the most brilliant thing about his whole performance, where he takes his willful ignorance and turns it into a virtue somehow. And every educated person, everybody who actually knows what the fuck, right, is looking at him as, I'm serious, and I drew this analogy in one of the videos. I said, you are like the child who walks into the obstetrician's clinic and demands that they teach stork theory because you don't believe in pregnancy.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
At the beginning of this video, at the beginning of this video, he made a point to say that, or to point out how you say, Kent, why don't you accept evolution, and Kent, why do you reject evolution? Because he's making a point that people do that when they're trying to, in some way, say that by fiat these things are true, and that's a deceptive move. That you should say, why do you believe in creation, or why don't you believe in evolution? So he's trying to throw everything against the wall to see what sticks. I think anything other than he's incorrect about his stance on these things.
It's funny. Yeah. Let's just keep.
No, go ahead, please.
Radiometrically dating some geologic strata reliably using radioisotopes rather than index fossils.
Okay, we have a whole video on that, radiometric dating and the problems associated with it. It's called radiocarbon dating. What is it, $10 in the bookstore? $15, just call 855-BIG-DINO, extension 1. They say the mind is the first thing to go.
I just want to say to the 1,100 people watching on my channel, and how many over on your channel right now?
1,162.
Okay, so we've got about 2,200 people. I just want to say, please be watching and be respectful. do not call 1-800-BIG-DINO and say hit 0 for the operator. Again, the number that you should not call is 1-800-BIG-DINO and hit 0 for the operator.
We would not ever endorse anyone doing such a funny, possibly funny thing. Don't do it.
I am very clearly saying do not call 1-800. Let me find out what the numbers are for that.
Big Dino. And by the way, why he does the numbers? Do not, under any circumstances, record your call when doing this either.
Yeah. Do not call 1-800-244-3466 because that would sound something like this if you were to do that, and I don't want to see this happen.
Complete your call. To speak to a customer service.
Apparently it's not going so well over there at 1-800-BIG-DINO. Wait, was that the wrong number? Was it 1-888? Let's find out.
Problems associated with it. It's called radiocarbon dating. What is it, $10 in the bookstore? $15, just call 855-BIG-DINO extension.
Don't call 1-855-244-3466. And if you did, you will know that you've called the wrong place if it sounds like this.
Thank you for calling Creation Science Evangelism and Dinosaur Adventureland in Lenox, Alabama. This is Kent.
Thank you for calling. Please leave a message and your call will be returned as soon as possible.
You really think he's going to return calls?
I'm sorry. I meant, is this the pharmacy? Sorry. Okay, so that is not something you would want to do. Do not, absolutely do not call 1-855-BIG-DINO. All right, moving right along.
Yeah, I want to throw something. I know it's not fun to say this, but seriously, don't call.
Yeah, it's not actually worth it.
That'll go bad for us.
I've only said don't call.
Right.
They say the mind is the first thing to go.
Well, you're 10 years older than me, and you never had one to begin with, so I guess that's where you are.
Yeah, there we go.
You know,
where would it
to
go?
Visit some friends, and I asked the lady at the nurse there. I said, "Ma'am, do you know who I am?"
No. Corny joke
said, "No, but if you go over to the counter, they can tell you who you are." That hurt so bad.
How much does he pay them to laugh at his jokes?
That's actually a soundboard.
I have to wonder where he digs them up. I mean, have you ever met the type of people that he has in his group? I mean, one of the reasons that I like deconversion stories, and I don't care about conversion stories. Conversion stories are always the same. I mean, you know, I was a crack whore. I used to lick lead paint all day. I mean, you know, I was in this situation. I hit rock bottom. I'm stupid. I didn't know what hell. And then somebody gave me a trick tract or whatever and told me just pray to my magic imaginary friend and he would somehow make everything better, right? And I've heard people from other religions make the same kind of claims. You know, I actually read one testimony where this woman said that her entire life and her perspective immediately improved the moment she accepted Buddha into her life. Seriously. And Buddhism doesn't even work that way, but that's what she wrote anyway. Right? She's in Thailand and they have a different version of it, I guess.
Yeah.
But with deconversion, at least, it's like the stories are always different. Right? It's not the same thing. Well, I was stupid. I got ground into nothing. I had nowhere to go. In an absolute emotional desperation, I said, okay, fine, whatever. Let me start talking to an imaginary friend. And it doesn't matter who your imaginary friend is, by the way. It doesn't matter if it's Jesus or any other God. It can be extraterrestrial telepaths. It can be the ghosts of your dead ancestors. It doesn't matter. It can be past life experience. When you start talking to your magic imaginary friends, they will start talking back.
Yeah,
that's a very good point.
That's about as I once thought years ago, so this is probably about 20 years ago now, that I was going to be the one picked by God to translate the sealed portion of the Book of Mormon, that one that Joseph Smith couldn't translate from again because he had lost it. Yeah, I thought that was my destiny. Did we lose Aron?
No, he went to refill, I think.
Oh, okay. We'll get a second here. Yeah, I thought that was my destiny in life was to. So I do want to, while Aron's refilling, I do want to actually say, just for the sake of, I don't think there's any legal thing, but don't actually call. It's Oh, I didn't mean to do that though. Yeah, don't actually call the. Sorry, I accidentally hit somebody in mine. I didn't mean to, but I've unhidden you. Don't actually call. I don't want them to whine about they're harassing us now. Mine will be enough. It was funny.
All right, let's see what else he's got to say.
All right.
Okay.
So that it is not circular reasoning as you allege, nor is it interpretation because it is objectively verifiable.
You're simply mistaken, sir, or lying to your constituents. It is not proven that those layers are different ages. I'll show you in a minute.
All of the textbooks will say there is such a thing as a geologic column, and they've got the names for them: Cretaceous, Jurassic, Triassic, Permian, Carboniferous, etc.
It's too much Hovind.
In the early 1800s, this was made up, completely made up. Up until that time, everybody thought, hey, the flood of Noah deposited all these layers.
But then they began to realize just a few of the many reasons why your global flood could not and certainly did not happen.
Okay, I would like to see a list of those reasons. I will answer every one. So some of you sun god followers have a list of those. What are the reasons why a flood couldn't happen? Tell me.
All right, we'll watch my 8-part video series.
Yeah,
which is going to have a lot more substance to it than any of your videos do because it has actual science in it, backed by actual scientists.
And he claims
the only way to contest that is going to be with actual science. So some blithering religious zealot screaming from his double wide in Alabama isn't going to be able to refute that without peer-reviewed citation to show that you're right.
Right.
And by the way, I just had to go get my shot glass.
Salud. Salud.
Yeah.
Answer all of them. It could happen. It did happen.
Just knowing that the Earth is a spheroid is enough to show the mathematic impossibility of your flood.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Because the Earth is a spheroid, by that he means it's not quite exactly a sphere. It's bulged a little, pulsing the poles in. That proves there couldn't be a flood. You disciples of Mr. Nelson, use your head.
Disciples of Mr. Nelson.
How could anybody believe such a thing? You're saying a round ball or nearly round ball.
Reason. Nor can he.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked the disciples part.
Like the Earth can't be flooded because it's round? 70% underwater right now.
The reason that the flood legend was invented was that people thought, and this is all across Asia. This wasn't just the Jews. I mean, this was Mesopotamians. This was the Persians. I mean, the Zoroastrians. This was the Chinese religions. All of them, and Hindus. Everybody across Asia believed in this idea of a disc-shaped Earth that was covered by a solid rakia, the firmament, and that there was water above this, and that the water came in through windows. And this was just a common belief that everybody had. It was completely wrong, but it was a common belief. So let the water in through the windows. Well, then of course your snow globe fills up with water, right?
Right.
And obviously, with a globe that has the water that it has, it can't flood.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Somebody in the live chat just said that Agrippa in the live chat just said that he actually did give Kent a list of those reasons on a video, and Kent deleted the answer.
Was that Agrippa?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like that guy.
Yeah.
Nice.
He's cool.
Duh!
So it was obviously just a fable, adopted and adapted from the legends of previous polytheism.
Whoa. It's obviously just a fable adopted and adapted from previous. No, it's obviously certainly possible. Mathematically, you said it's mathematically impossible. What do you mean? There's enough water to cover the Earth 1.6 miles deep. And the fact that Noah, or the fact that Moses collected and edited the 10 eyewitness accounts into the book of Genesis, all written by eyewitnesses. Noah actually wrote chapter 5 and part of 6. Okay?
Wait,
you can tell where the breaks are. There's 10 authors in Genesis.
This dolt says the Bible was written by eyewitnesses?
Yes.
No part of it.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
Not one book of it.
No. Yeah. Noah actually wrote Genesis 3, though. That was actually from Noah. He literally said that.
Yeah. And Moses wrote Deuteronomy, where it describes where his body is buried. I mean, I'll grant that Paul wrote some shit. And a couple of other people, but if you're because Paul's talking about his own life.
Right.
I'll grant he's an eyewitness. We're done.
Yep.
It says these are the generations of. I covered that on video number 7. But he didn't prove any such thing that it couldn't happen. These other people Moses collected this about 1,000 years after the flood. 1,000 years after the flood, Moses' life takes place. And so he writes
Moses'
about the flood.
life never
before
took place.
I
just got to say that there is no scholarly consensus. Moses never existed.
Yeah. Yeah, which is that's something I pointed out on somebody's Facebook the other day. It's you remember Robert? We had the debate, Kyle. It was me versus Robert and a couple others. Yeah, Robert.
Sentinel Apologetics. Aron knows Robert Rowe, Sentinel Apologetics.
He believes that Moses literally existed.
Yeah, you had a debate with him one time.
I did?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Australian guy. Sentinel Apologetics.
I don't know. Apparently, I remember once somebody put me in a chat with G-Man, and I introduced myself saying that we finally talked. We've never spoken before, and G-Man blew up because we'd apparently been in like 3 other hangouts.
Yep.
And I didn't remember ever. And
How could you forget G-Man? How could you forget G-Man?
That's what I'm saying. Somebody like that, I should remember. Somebody like that.
Yeah.
So that's funny. That's on me.
Yeah. No worries. Yeah. Robert believes in a literal Moses' existence. I think let's let him get through whatever this last point is so we can end around the 90-minute mark for tonight. And just
sure. My apologies.
No. Oh, no. It wasn't your fault at all.
Great.
Yeah, good. It's this guy. It's this guy's fault. Yeah. It's Kent's fault. Yeah.
So maybe go towards the end, so we can hear his final wrap up on his end.
Give a conclusion here.
Yeah.
Does he stick with Aron, or does he just school atheists generally by the end?
The whole thing is geared towards Aron. When he says atheist, that's just a side. A side thing. Most of the majority of this video
something else out for the thousands of people who reportedly are watching this.
Yep.
If Kent ever said anything worthy of reply,
right,
then I should know about it. And so far, for all he's ever posted, all I've heard back was he's just dribbling. There's nothing worth responding to.
Nothing.
But if he actually made a valid point,
sure,
I would expect that my own allies, I guess, for lack of a better word, my own, let's say, regular allies or people who would normally agree with me, because I know how pedantic the scientific community is.
Yeah.
If I said something wrong, I don't have to wait for Kent to say anything about it. My own allies will tell me about it. My peers. The people who up till this point supported me, you said something wrong, now it's on.
Right.
So I have to be very careful about that.
Yeah.
And I like that about the fact that if Kent ever made a point that was worthy, that where that actually makes sense or that's valid,
right,
I'd be hearing about it from people besides him
immediately. Yeah. No, yeah. The reason you saw me skipping around there is I figured I'd be able to find a spot. He does this thing where he nurses his own mind boner where between points he looks into his audience of people.
Not an image I needed.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, I think we found. I think he's just had a mindgasm, so I think we can. I think this is probably.
Look at that look on his face.
Because he put mind boner. Mindgasm, and earlier you said he was auto-fillating.
Yeah.
I want to say, Aron, during the debate with Kent that you had back in April, I want to say that's his face the entire debate with you, like live. Just that silent, like, oh man, what's happening?
Yeah,
it would break in 100 places, just like that. Petrified forest. This stuff happened as a result of Noah's flood and then the tree falling over sometime later. Some guys went scuba diving from Institute for Creation Research in Dallas, Texas. It used to be in California.
They went scuba diving for creation research, right? Yeah. Institute for Creation Research. Another propaganda mill that, like Answers in Genesis, right? They put their statement of faith up that no amount of evidence will ever change their minds. They say that in their statement of faith.
Right.
That the whole reason they exist is so that they can rationalize or justify or in any other way dismiss any and all arguments and evidence against them so that you can make believe in the Bible.
Right.
And they want to accuse me of being biased?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was to Kyle's point earlier. One of the most telling things you can do with this is basically just ask what could change your mind, if anything. And the answer is almost always nothing.
I was thinking the other day that if you wanted a part 2, like of a live debate with Kent, what we could do is, since his points never change, I'll just go back. You give me the questions ahead of time, and I'll pull his answers from previous debates, and we can literally have you debate in live. Because if you go back and you watch videos of him from like 20 years ago, and then you watch videos of him now, they're the exact same points, delivered the exact same way with the exact same jokes.
Hasn't learned a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I need to mention this because there were a number of things that I probably should have started out with, but I didn't know that he was going to be this way. We need to cover a dozen or so points that I brought up that Kant is definitely wrong about, and there's no way he can save himself on this. And anybody that is a disciple of his, anybody that follows him, anybody that ever believed anything that snake oil salesman ever said needs to understand: 1, evolution is not a religion. Speciation is part of macroevolution. Right. Macroevolution and microevolution are both part of evolution. Right. That means one theory, not two different ones, like he wants to point out. Evolution is the only theory of biodiversity. There aren't multiple theories, and it is only biodiversity. It's not the Big Bang. It's not nucleosynthetic theory. It's not planet accretion theory. It's not the collection of every other scientific theory there is. Evolution doesn't teach that we came from nothing. Right. And incidentally, neither does cosmology, but that is a different theory. Evolution certainly doesn't. Evolution requires that we come from ancestors because it is descent with inherent genetic modifications.
Right.
The evolutionary laws of biodiversity, this is a big one. Biodiversity and monophily do not allow any change between kinds. Nowhere did evolution ever teach that one kind became another kind. So every time he said, well, it's still the same kind. Exactly, you stupid ass.
Right. Right.
He still, in this video, he still uses the pine tree and, insert animal of your choice. He still uses that sticking point. Well, it can't come from a pine tree.
Yeah, there is no such thing as a kind. New genetic information is provided by mutations, and we have the proof of that from geneticists. Yeah. Right? Fossils do count as evidence of evolution, and I can prove a number of different ways that they do. The taxonomic categories are not just lines drawn on paper. They are actually objectively real.
Right.
Index fossils provide relative dates of geologic strata. They do not provide actual dates in terms of years. Those are provided by radiometric dating. And evolution never taught that we came from rocks. Right. There is no lesson from any textbook nor any provision possible where that could be. Evolution does not and never did teach that. Those 12 things are things Kent Hovind lies about in every seminar. And he knows that none of these things are true. He knows that he is lying about all these things.
Yep. I wish I could believe the whole like a tree becoming a monkey or something, because I want Ents. I'd go crazy for actual Ents. I'm just saying. That's a Lord of the Rings reference, Kyle.
I was getting ready to ask. He lies so much that what's the line he uses? Even a 5-year-old could see how much he lies.
Yeah, I hope so.
Mount St. Helens under these petrified trees. Here's their heads right here. Going to go scuba diving under the trees. They notice the trees, as the wind blows them up and down the lake, they're rolling against each other, rubbing all the bark off. So the bark sinks to the bottom and becomes a layer of coal. So, Mr. Nelson, I am sorry, you're simply insane. If you think this happened slowly over millions of years, you're mistaken, okay? I've corrected you on this before. I'll correct you again if you need it, and you will, I'm sure, because you don't want to believe the obvious. There was a flood. It completely covered the world. Lots of people wrote about it.
So hard. And yet he's projecting not just these accusations of things he believes that I don't, in the bias that he has that I don't. He also projects the projection. Yeah. He wants to pretend that I'm projecting it on him.
He's so angry. He's so angry.
He's so intellectually condescending, too.
and false about absolutely everything. Everything that he calls me out when he calls me a liar. Note that when I call him a liar, I've shown that he said something that is factually false and that I have sufficient evidence to show that he knew that it was factually false. When he calls me a liar, I'm correct.
Right.
Verbatim. Right. Whatever my sentence was is absolutely correct.
Right.
And he just doesn't want to accept it.
Basically, just tries to repaint the whole thing.
You don't take correction well.
I'm just going to start calling him Captain Hovind because it's easier, and he wants to pretend he's some kind of a superhero. So he's clearly not a doctor because doctors know stuff. But he's nothing but narcissistic arrogance, and that sounds like Captain Hovind
with a Hawaiian cape, print cape.
If I can make a request, my guess is that my live shows do usually about 20,000 in a week. So of the 20,000 of you, one of you definitely has quick, beautiful cartooning skills. You've sent me lots of images of myself before, so I know you're out there.
Yes.
If anyone would like to create Captain Hovind, the superhero, and email that to me, make sure you put Captain Hovind in the subject line. Please. I will be looking for it. I would love to see your Captain Hovind fan art.
Me too. Me too. That's live at nonsexshow.com. Please send it to both of us so that we can see that. I would love to see that.
Mine's Dear Mr. Atheist at Gmail. You can always find that in the description too.
And by the way, before we get any further on this, Kyle, thank you for inviting me on this because I always have a bucket of chuckles when I'm on here.
This is so fun. Yeah,
and we're going to see you again on Tuesday, which is always good. When we talk about Bill Ludlow.
Is me and Bill Ludlow?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, and what do we talk about then?
He's going through that guy that stole his logo on that company. That goat, and how the guy, he was a Kent Hovind fan that got really pissed off and went after him for he trademarked the name of the company Bill had or whatever. But anyway, Bill battled him in court.
Explain it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's a good ending, but you'll like it. It's really good.
Well, I like being on this show, and I do like Bill Ludlow. So yeah, I'm sure it'll be a good time.
Excellent.
After the flood, most of them oral legends and stuff would get twisted and exaggerated. I'm sure Shem told the story and said, "Oh, I was the hero in the plot," and Ham would say, "No, it was me," and Japheth, "No, those guys are both morons. It was me." And they tell their kids, "We're the greatest ever born."
Ham or Shem, right? And there was no Mo or Curly either.
Were you there?
Yeah, but were you there? Yeah.
Because, look at him, he's a moron, and, look how smart we are, and that kind of stuff, okay? So there would be legends that would be twisted, obviously. We get that all the time now, okay? So, but then Moses was told
why do you believe
God.
It is so funny that
we know that these are all legends. We know that the original story was completely different. We know that the earliest versions of the Noah story that have all the trivial details, but not what Kant would consider the important details.
Right.
The trivial, the releasing the dove and all of this. I mean, all of these sorts of elements are in the oldest versions when the flood was then attributed to a pantheon of Mesopotamian gods. And when it was originally based on something that archaeologists can confirm actually did happen. There was a flood of Shuruppak at the end of the Jemdot-Nusrim period. It was the event that ended that period. And King Ziusudra, who already had his menagerie on his, I think it was his cattle, that were already on a barge, and he was headed for market, and then he ended up blowing off into the Persian Gulf.
Right.
That's what it was. The Iraqi floodplain, the Tigris and Euphrates overflowed for whatever reason, and one description that I read, which one of the earlier ones, as I remember, it seemed to describe it more as a tsunami than a flood, which I thought was interesting. And that may be. It may have had a tsunami. And so there was in this one floodplain, and he ends up washed out to sea in a boat that was meant only for punting along the riverside.
Right.
And so that must be a harrowing experience, 2900 BCE.
Yeah.
And from that, we get a number of different. We get the legend of Atrahasis. We get the Epic of Gilgamesh. We get another version of, I can't remember off the top of my head. And then we get the biblical version where suddenly it's been adapted to the Jewish God for the first time. And this was 1,000 years later.
Right.
And this is an important thing. All these stories were originally literally cast in stone because they were written in cuneiform, they were stamped into clay tablets, and they were kept forever, right? And Ashurbanipal's library, for example, was this buried library of these 22,000 some odd stones. But then when the Mesopotamian Empire fell, and this is, like, to me, I find this is to be the poetic truth of the Tower of Babel story. Because Babel was the Marduk Ziggurat of Babylon. So that was the Tower of Babel. It actually existed. It was started by Hammurabi, and then at some point later, Nebuchadnezzar tried to resume it. He failed too, and so they just gave it up. But that's what it was. So there actually was a tower in Babylon, and they used to teach these kids how to read and write in cuneiform. And then at some point, when the Mesopotamian Empire fell, nobody could read and write anymore because schools were closed, literally. So what you ended up with was a 1,000-year period in which these people would keep retelling the stories as best they remember them.
Right.
And different communities would be telling different stories or slightly enhanced different stories. And of course they would embellish, and they would add things, as people tend to do. Yeah. And that's where we get the biblical version. So when the, what is it, the Phoenicians eventually reintroduced written syllabic text 1,000 fucking years later, well, now when they wrote the stories down again, you know what? It's changed. Right. And that's where you get the Bible from. Yeah. It is not the Word of God. It's the unintelligible nonsense of sheepshaggers, of literally it is ignorant, superstitious primitives pretending to speak for their God. Right. And the funny thing is, they weren't even pretending to speak for their God. That was posthumously added. That whatever these sacred fables were, people were sorting out which stories are the inevitable word of God or the incontrovertible whatever of God, and which ones weren't, right? Yeah. And the funny thing about that is that even in the Nicene Convention, when they finally said, well, okay, what is the Bible and what isn't? What is the Word of God and what isn't? We end up with a bunch of books that refer to other books that didn't make the cut. Why would the Word of God refer to other books? Like 24 other books that were not the Word of God. Why would God say, well, if you don't believe me, ask what Ezekiel wrote? Or no, not Ezekiel, because he was a prophet, so he for God. So ask what Shlobob wrote, right? Ask what Jasher wrote.
That's a very good point.
I would love for I'll email you about it. I would love to do a video with your take on, because that's like, they at least have the benefit of like thousands of years of, I would love to do this kind of review of the quote unquote scientific facts from the Book of Mormon. I really think, I think you and I would have a lot of fun with the Book of Mormon. Because as you're talking about referencing, there's a part of the Book of Mormon where Joseph Smith is basically saying that the Old Testament, part of the Old Testament, is being read to these Native Americans. And so he's translating the words they would have read, and yet the words lined up exactly perfectly with the King James Version. It wasn't some more original version, and Mormons are still just like, well, yeah, that's for our benefit, because God knew that we were going to have the King James Version, so when he translated it and he put his head in the hat, that's what he ended up seeing, was the King James Version, not the actual original. That's the mental leaps and bounds that kind of stuff takes is just incredible. Mm-hmm.
The important thing to remember is that my perspective does not have a required belief. Right. I don't have to swear an oath, as like Answers in Genesis and Institute for Creation Research. They have to swear that they will always support creationism no matter what the facts are. Yeah. As I had to explain to somebody today who held a position that I find absolutely repugnant, but I still told him that if you can show me objective verification that what you're saying is correct, I will have to consider that and change my mind accordingly if you can show that is the truth, because that's what matters. Right. And obviously with somebody like Captain Trailer Trash here, that's not the case.
For us, it's the truth matters regardless of if it feels like shit. The not having an afterlife felt like shit, especially with like Mormon afterlife is a pretty great fucking afterlife, and losing that.
That's another thing. I want to, at another point, Mr. Atheist, I want to have a conversation with you where I promise I will do my best not to interrupt again, because I know I just did it again.
You're fine. It's all good.
But I was raised in a Mormon family, but I wasn't raised. I mean, I was raised by people thinking I was Mormon, but I never identified as Mormon. I never felt Mormon. I never considered myself Mormon. People would ask me, "What is your religion?" And I would say, "Well, my family is Mormon."
Right.
And then they would even realize that there's a but there, and they would just start telling me all the ridiculous things that Mormons believe. And Mormons do believe some ridiculous things. But what I want to ask you about right now is, do you remember all of the archaeological evidence that the Mormons produce?
Yes.
Right? And have you ever talked to a Muslim apologist and realized that, hey, you're arguing, you're presenting almost exactly the same evidence, or the same type of evidence at least.
Yeah, it's
apologetics for Mormons and apologetics for Muslims is perilously similar.
Identical. Yeah. We've talked about, which is funny because both of their founding prophets were pedophiles. I don't know if there's a parallel there, but maybe. So I've talked about it a lot with especially my family, and just I guess probably more from an apologetics angle in general, just because Mormons really think that their experience in their religion is not just the right religion, but that no one else is out there having these same experiences, these affirmations from God, and then these like, oh, did you hear that there's these new DNA studies that there's this new gene that is only found in Native Americans and Jews, which is like a really exceptional bit of evidence, except they made it up. It's not true. I mean, there's that little problem.
And Native Americans do come from more than one origin. I will grant that. I've heard enough sufficient evidence to realize that they didn't all just walk over the Bering Straits.
Right.
So that they did come from multiple origins, but none of those origins are Israel.
Right. 2,600 years ago, Israel, when the whole thing burned to the ground.
Yeah, I would readily change my mind if you can show me evidence to indicate otherwise. I really will readily change my mind. Even if, and there's, I can't, I'm trying to imagine a belief that I have that I'm emotionally attached to.
Right.
I understand evolution well enough that I don't think you could disprove evolution to the degree that I don't think that you could disprove the objective reality. I've actually seen people who were atheist activists who then lost their mind and decided that we were living in the Matrix. Seriously.
Yeah, I know.
Wait,
reality isn't real.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, which pill did you take?
The rainbow pill, obviously.
Yeah, I was going to say, with Kyle, it's the rainbow pill. It was filled with glitter.
Don't you love when Ken Ham lit up his ark in rainbow colors?
Yes.
Demanding that take the rainbow back from the gays.
Oh, man.
It gives a whole new meaning to the story Joseph and the Coat of Many Colors, doesn't it? That's what makes you wonder.
Oh, hey.
I wonder how Joseph walks now.
He skipped. He didn't walk.
That's perfect.
Does
anyone feel we need any more of him? Do we want to give him his last?
I'm done with Hovind. Yeah. I laid out my 12 points that he was wrong about, and that he needs to address, and he's going to do everything he can to avoid that. But there is no venue where we can check the facts where Kent Koresh will ever come out on top on this.
Ever.
I would now like to talk to one of Kent's supporters. If you honestly believe that fraud number 0645-2017 was actually being truthful with you ever about anything, come forward, tell me what that thing was that you think he was being truthful about, and let's have that in a public discussion.
Yeah.
Because every other sentence he said, he's not like Matt Powell. Every other sentence Hovind says is a lie. With Matt Powell, it's every sentence. He said,
Matt Powell. Matt Powell is a cartoon character. Matt Powell was like he's
amazing.
Yeah. His
entire movie, I watched the whole movie. Absolutely every single sentence he says is not only false, it's deliberately deceptive. Every single sentence. I hate Hovind. And not even Hovind does that. Because occasionally Hovind will say a sentence from capital letter to period no, I can't argue that. That sentence by itself, excluding the rest of the paragraph, that sentence is correct.
Probably by accident. Right. Yeah, Matt Powell.
Wow, that's true.
Yeah,
he's garbage. He's garbage.
Did you ever see him debate Russell Glasser on evolution?
Matt Powell. I'm going to have a conversation with Matt Powell in person. He accepted my invitation to come to Dallas to do a live face-to-face discussion. I don't know when that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But he said it's going to happen.
Sell tickets.
Can I make a request?
You'll be rich.
Will you punch him at the end for me?
No, I don't advocate violence.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, mind you, he's a 20-year-old stick.
Right.
I could fold him up and put him in an envelope to send back to his mommy. It's not that I'm afraid of him. It's not that I'm afraid of anybody. I don't advocate violence.
I am the same way.
The guy literally.
I say this sometimes as a lesson to my son. I say this sometimes as a lesson to my son because my son is a martial arts lunatic who's covered in weapons all the time and gets in fights every day. My son lives for violence. Yeah. He's a bodyguard, a bounty hunter.
I think it's like
it's pretty damn extreme.
It's definitely tough. It's tough to advocate like don't punch the guy with the world's most punchable face. It's hard to do. I think that's
in a live chat, he literally looked right at me and said to my face that yes, we should still be putting people like you to death for being gay. The government should still be executing you for good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. A statement as objectionable as that, I figured could only have come from Powell because I figured that could only come from somebody in their early 20s.
Yep. And you know what though? The crazy thing is more than gay, he also advocates for the death of unruly children. He literally defended if your child does not listen to any sort of rebuke or trying to get them in the right direction, they should be executed by the government. He stands by that.
Kyle, who is the person who defended that didn't mean stoning, that it didn't mean killing the kids, it meant publicly humiliating and killing their heart, that you would stone their heart to death.
What?
Oh, that's bullshit.
I thought you and I did that video together. Yeah, it was. It might have been Dr. Gene Kim, and if anybody who hasn't seen Dr. Gene Kim, don't go look up Dr. Gene Kim. He is the worst. He has a 3-minute video on why atheists are so dumb, and I think that's what it's called. No, he's an adult. He's just the worst, and he's got everything. I just don't like anything about him. He's got the most condescending tone and voice and everything.
Jimmy, you have an echo again, buddy.
Have I?
Yeah.
Well,
my mistake.
I'm wearing earbuds. I know that Kyle's got earbuds. We got headphones. What's your excuse?
So mine was actually my camera microphone and this microphone were active at the same moment.
Okay. Well, and you're the sound guy.
I want to call myself the sound guy. However, I do want to share I want to show you two something. This has already come in my email.
That's fantastic. Fantastic.
I think I had. Yes. I think I had one more. Let me go see here.
Yes, you win the night. You win the night. Whoever you are.
There's another one. The first one, that one's really good too, but the first one, that one killed me.
Yeah,
the first one was so good. Oh man.
Yeah,
our audience is amazing.
That second one, I don't know. I can't tell that as. I mean, that doesn't look like a wholly objectionable character.
For Kent.
It's too flattering. Too flattering.
It is. Anyway, I'm probably going to have to bail out of here. I've been working on another video that I'm way behind on schedule for. Kyle, thank you for having me on. It's always been fun. Mr. Atheist, you and I need to schedule a talk about...
Absolutely.
Even though I can't honestly say that I've been raised Mormon.
Sure.
Because I technically haven't. I would still like to have that conversation with you. And I'd like to hear the kinds of apologetics that you've had.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no problem. I used to spew them myself. I think actually what's really funny is while I understand you're making the distinction, this will sound like it's probably not a real thing. It's just probably bullshit pattern recognition. But there's a certain sense of humor and a certain approach I feel like a lot of ex-Mormons have. And I think a lot of ex-Mormons who would have, I have a large ex-Mormon audience, watched you describe your upbringing, were like, oh, now I get why I feel an affinity for him, because it just naturally kind of comes through in the... Now, the number one gift that Mormonism ever gave me, Mormonism is really good at explaining why all other religions are false. So once you learn they're false too, they've done a lot of your work for you. That part was great. That's
a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah. I think that's why you have a higher rate of Mormons going to atheism rather than to a different religion.
As a neo-pagan occultist who was investigating, paranormal experiences, astral projection, transcendental meditation, and all of that sort of thing, the only Christian I ever met who had a more bizarre or wild or outside of the box paranormal experience than I did, was someone who claimed to be Mormon, and that person told me to my face in real time, in real life, that he had personally been in orbit around the Earth aboard Satan's spaceship.
Yeah. Okay.
What's that guy's contact information? We need him on the show.
Which, like, if only I could have predicted back in 1990 that.
Oh man!
That I would do something. I would so love to have contact information for a guy like that.
Yeah,
that's excellent. Yeah. We have a guy coming on in a couple of weeks that claims he is from the year 21.
21
the year 21.
Yeah, the year 2130. He's from the year 2130.
For whatever reason, your camera cut out, so he's from the year 21.
I was like, wow.
He knew Jesus.
So you knew Jesus then.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. There was no Jesus. And you probably know that. But anyway.
I'm looking forward to that conversation,
Kyle,
though.
I will be very interested in that show.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
It's going to be good. We thank you for coming by. Aron, we'll let you go, and we'll see you Tuesday.
You got to throw me a reminder, because I tell you, I get involved in my editing and stuff, and I forget what the hell day of the week it is.
Yeah.
So,
not a problem.
Good deal.
But this was, as always, been a great deal of fun, and thank you guys.
Very good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining in. We're just gonna read the super chats here after. It looks like, good seeing you. I'm gonna take that off. There we go. Do you want to go first? Should I go first? Should we alternate? What do you want to do?
We can alternate. That'll break up some of them.
I love the conversations that end up happening as a result of these. Sometimes they're better than the show. It'll be hard to top this show, but I love the thing. So first of all, I have an empty one, so I won't count that. But thank you, Maya. And then Thrift Store Dan wrote, "Can you do a Morty impression?" Oh, geez, I don't think so. No, probably not a very good Morty. I can work on it, but oh, geez, I don't think so. I feel like Rick. I'm probably closer to like a Rick. All right, go ahead.
That's not bad.
It wasn't not bad for a first attempt.
Salomon 109. For some reason, I think he's still stuck on last night. He says he gives proof. Wonton called the bullshit.
All right.
Okay.
Wait, was Wonton back on last night?
He was.
He's back. I'm gonna go watch that episode. I miss Victor.
Listen. If you ever saw Wonton, in anything, you need to watch this. It is him to a degree that is just shocking. I was by the end of it, I couldn't handle it anymore. My mind literally exploded out of my ears.
So the reason why he disappeared was to go get worse, is basically what it came down to.
Oh, way worse. And the guy we had on there was brilliant at explaining things. We even took pictures like that he was claiming were CGI. We ran them through a EULA filter and did all kind of video forensics or image forensics on them. It came out to be that they weren't altered in any way. He was hung up on this sex cloud thing. There's this picture of clouds above this country that's sex, and he swears up and down it was put there by the same people that put sex in The Lion King from Disney.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, great. Okay, perfect. All right, Maya Brunzel wrote, Land Daddy is the sexiest daddy. Fight me.
What? I will.
Yeah, Kyle will. And then also a blank one from David Clemens. David, thank you.
Andrew Rhodes, I can't believe there was ever a time I believed this guy. Thanks, Aron Ra.
I can't believe there's a time anyone believed that guy, but had I found him back when I was Mormon and like deciding whether or not I believed in young earth, I probably would have been compelled to just excited with the us versus them and just like the it's us versus the creationists, or it's us versus the scientists kind of stuff. I think I would have liked him. My Bronzel wrote, on Sundays I'm usually forced to go to church with my client. Luckily today my client didn't feel up to it. You helped me not kill a pastor every Sunday, so thanks. You're welcome.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we saved a life.
Andrew Rhodes, I just read that one, sorry. Ghostly Enigma says, let the Kent burning start. Yep, we burnt Kent down and then burnt the ashes, I think.
This is the one that's just sent in that he says is a work in progress. It says evolutionism on the stone there. That's
Very good.
Yeah,
Very good.
I'm excited. Let's see here. Tatted Philosophy wrote, all the extra water is in beer to cover the earth. No, but the amount of beer it would take to make Kent Hovind palatable could flood the entire earth, I think. Your turn.
Let's see. The NIFB Jesus says, please support and encourage the young earth creationists, flat earth Christianity, and Christian fundamentalist extremism. These elements combined form a toxic injection to the heart of Christian dumb and help wreck it.
Yeah. All right. Dasbury, I hope I've said that right. Kircht says, love you, Mr. Atheist. I'm a new patron and I'm looking forward to your girl-defined book videos. Keep being sexy. So if I can take a second to plug that, later this week, most likely, I will put out that first video. It's going to come out for patrons at least a couple weeks before it comes out on the channel. I'm going to be going chapter by chapter through the girl-defined books, reviewing and just seeing what brilliance they have to bring to us. So that first episode will air for just patrons later this week. And thank you so much, Dasbury, for joining.
Lloydie, and then some Japanese characters, says 666 yen for you. Thank you, Lloydie.
Nice. This one I'm going to try and do my best. So Stewie has several voices. His voice is developed over the years, so I'm going to try and get omnipotence. I'm going to try and get back in his old voice for this. You know, I rather like this gold fellow. Very theatrical, you know. Pestilence here, a plague there. Omnipotence. Got to get me some of that. Also, Aron Ra is God. And that was from Mark McGee. Thank you, Mark.
Red-eyed Yaya says, glad to see Aron still exposing this guy. You'd be surprised how many people follow this guy where I live.
I'm not surprised at all.
My cousin actually, my cousin is a really big Christian. He's a deacon at his church, all this other stuff. But we talk about the show all the time.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he watches the show, and we'll have conversations about him. He told me the other day that he actually learned when he was growing up. His mom would bought the Kent Hovind tapes and would play them for him and his brother to sit and watch. And I was like, well, how did you like him getting his teeth kicked in?
That's the... Oh, man. That's the worst. Frankie the Dead, thank you. Thank you for streaming so often. Oh, sorry. Thank you for streaming so often. Depression frequently leaves me in bed with no mental energy to focus on much of anything. Now, instead of sulking alone in the dark, I watch your live streams. Love you. Well, depression is a fucking bitch, and I really hope that you find something that works for you. I'm not going to be one of those condescending people who's like, just change your diet. But I really hope you find something out. But I'm really glad that we can help in the meantime. I try to go every weekend. March 5th is my birthday, so I will probably take either the weekend before or after that off. But right now, otherwise, there are plans to stream every week between here and then until my birthday.
I hope that gets better for you. I've been there.
Yeah, depression's.
I know how hard it is. The NIV.
I was just going to say, and I had it the worst when I was religious, especially as I was realizing that the way I was acting and the saying I believed didn't match with what actually felt like was the experience for me. So, Frank the Dead, also join our Discord. You'll find lots of loving and understanding people in there as well. And the Discord's free. There's been some confusion about that. Discord is a free place to be.
The NIFB Jesus again says, this Jesus loves Aron for helping him get off the cross of religious absurdity.
Hell yeah. I think Aron has been a great educator, and for a lot of us, our pathway into just sort of what it looks like when you actually put an academic sort of type of learning to, when you actually look for objective ways to learn and objective ways to verify truth, and nobody can match how quick he has the information you need available.
He's a hammer to bullshit, and that's what for me personally, he's like a hero of mine because he's the one that actually brought me out of Christianity. It was his video that I first saw when I was a younger creationist, and really asked the question, maybe he's got a point, and then it just leads you down to more videos, and then you see things that you didn't see before, and then before you know it, you're
an atheist.
Yeah, anti-theist.
Right. Maya Brunzel wrote, in my experience, religious people can drink an entire bottle of Jack but can't swallow the truth. That's funny.
Just Some Guy says, this is for this video, absolutely brilliant. Thank you. I agree, Just Some Guy.
Thank you. I love these videos we do together, and this one was just awesome. Maya wrote, growing up in a secular country in an atheist family that highly values education, I honestly didn't know people with this worldview existed until my late teens. I wish I had your life.
Yeah, that's blissfully nice. Kent Hovind cellmate says,
that's already funny.
Yeah. Tearing number 06452-017. The new one is always fun. We won't ask, and you don't tell Kent Hovind cellmate.
Ionite Digiart wrote, Mr. Atheist, thanks to you, I don't feel as bad for not being part of my family's faith. And it's not just thanks to me. I try and do my best. Even just makes it sound like I try and do my best, and we try and give out as much information as we can. But you do all the work for yourself. The person to credit with how your life and yourself has improved since basically getting away from that religion is yourself, definitely. But I'm glad that I could be a part of your journey and help you along the way.
Excellent. VRCNGTRX says, you're hanging around the wrong people, son. I think that's the quote from Kent Hovind to Aron about the academics he hangs out with.
Right, and the scientists, yeah. Big Anxious Mean wrote, Jimmy needs to hack every radio station in the country and spit some truth. If I knew how to hack anything, I might. I just don't know how to. I sometimes can't make it into my own email, so...
Melissa Calandro says, kids, this is why you should not do creationism.
Yeah, not even once.
Agreed.
Katrina K wrote, just found this channel and I love it. Keep up the great work. Quick question. Would you ever do a video with Hugo and Jake, a.k.a. The Bible Reloaded? Yeah, I definitely would. And people have asked that before. Yeah, they've been on my channel. That video, so pretty much all the live shows from season 1 of Sunday Mass are unlisted now. I was going to move them to another channel, but mostly just because the channel's gotten so much better and it's just kind of fluff in there. But he was on an episode of, I think it was Sunday Mass a while back. So I've met Jake and Hugo. They were both on. I guess I've done 2 shows with them, technically 2 live shows. But yeah, I'd love to do something over on their channel. They're obviously welcome to come back on my channel. I know a lot of our values line up too. So I love Hugo and Jake.
They're fantastic.
Yep, great guys.
Chow Young Cat says, kids, the Big Bang violates the second law of thermodynamics.
It does not. You are wrong.
Were you there, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Were you there?
Yep, I was. Fat Jesus, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right. My bad.
Literally there. Big Anxious Mean wrote, I called it. I just don't know what in reference to.
Lawrence Carrington says, I need Kent Hovind like I need to experiment with the Kama Sutra using a barbed wire strap-on razor wire bed. God damn.
Shanna Vermillion wrote, wait, Aron told a fib. He is wearing pants. I think he said he was going to not wear pants the next time after Kyle and I revealed we're not wearing pants. Kyle and I are also in the same room, and there's a reason why our arms are always out of frame.
Exactly. And why my eyebrows go up and down at various points. Michael Robles says, I thought his real name was Cunt Hokum. Nice.
Shanna Vermillion wrote, oh wait, that was the last one. Twilord wrote, these boys are so cute. Someone write /. I assume that's referring to like make some fanfic about us, and I'm so surprised if it doesn't exist already.
It is.
Yeah, I figured. It's somewhere. It just hasn't gotten in front of me yet.
Gabor Kovac says, Kyle, why rock back and forth? Aron, love you. Because I rock, obviously.
I also rock nervously. If I haven't yet in a video, it just means it's because I'm talking all the time, so I'm distracted from it. But I'm a nervous rocker and a nervous pacer. And I nervous.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I nervous pace everywhere. I don't know what it is. Like I'll be going to a routine doctor's appointment and I just won't sit. I just pace.
I'll be sure to make it more noticeable.
Yeah. Let's see. Lauren Guerrero wrote, thank you, Land Daddy. Thanks for helping me not feel ashamed of myself. You did all of the work, but I'm really glad I could help.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. Gareth Hovind needs to have the mind boner as a power or perhaps some kind of artifact. Hydraulics.
Hydraulics. I'm not saying it was hydraulics, but it was hydraulics. We've got Derek Martin wrote, Later says Moses had access to... Oh. Later, I think he means Kent. Later, Kent says Moses had access to Library of Alexandria. That's hilarious.
He's actually the one that burned it down.
Ah.
Creation-induced lobotomy says these Hovind chats are so entertaining. Love it.
I also love him. Mia Counts wrote, I can smell the steady stream of bullshit coming out of his mouth through my phone.
Oh,
me too.
God. Translator Carminium says, Noah's Ark only really makes sense with a Looney Tunes intro and outro.
Occam's Razor wrote, my parents recently found out I am an atheist. Channels like yours and many others in the atheist community help remind me that I am not evil and I shouldn't feel bad about my atheism even if they do. Yes, and it should also remind you that you are not alone. There is a community here for you.
Well, what one is here? Occam's Razor.
Yeah, apparently. Occam's Razor says, if you look at Occam's Razor, that's why the earth is flat. Occam's Razor.
He was doing so well last night up until about the hour and 45-minute mark, and then he dropped Occam's Razor. I was like, is he not gonna go? He went there.
There it is.
James Hogue says, I wonder what Kent's students are doing with their lives. Thank all of you guys for what you do. Can't wait for the phylogeny experience to go beta.
That's funny.
Kent has students? That's the most shocking thing out of that. Oh, God.
Maya Brunzel wrote, this has been entertaining. Lots of love to you. And lots of love to you. You've been giving me lots of love this weekend. I very much appreciate it. You support the channel, and it makes me just feel all so good about myself.
This is a question for you, Mr. Atheist. Craig Lee asks, how long have you been out of the Mormon Church, and what was your job before YouTube?
So I'm a professional photographer and retoucher still for a living. But as far as leaving the church, it's a complicated answer. Technically, I'm still on their records. I have not yet earned excommunication, so I'm probably going to resign at some point live on the air as like a charity initiative or something. But I left the church in my heart somewhere in the 20 to 21, 22 area, completely atheist by 22. There's just a lot of things that mostly cocaine have made fuzzy. So
you mean that my best YouTube friend has been a Mormon still this entire time?
Yeah,
How
it turns out I actually only found out a few weeks ago because one of my subscribers, I had said I thought for years that my father had because the missionaries stopped coming around, people stopped trying to get out, so I thought my dad had forged a resignation letter. And then one of my subscribers, Brian, he was like, hey, you can go check if you're a member by doing this online. And yeah, my old online account is still set up and everything, so I am still technically counted as a Mormon, which means my last office held as a Mormon was as a priest, so I could still technically baptize any of you as a Mormon if you like. That might be a fun event to do. That would be kind of
now.
That would be kind of funny video to make. I might do that before they excommunicate me.
That would be funny. Do it in like a barrel of pickles.
No. I am going. So there's a charity stream coming up next month, and one of the tiers, when I hit like a certain amount of money, will be I will eat a pickle on air.
Oh, hell yeah.
I hate pickles.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. We'll make sure it's one of those like wrinkly...
let's stop talking. Yeah. I'm gonna gag. Can we just keep reading super chats? Seriously.
Yeah, Attila the one says, one of my students was a Christian, Christian schooled and has been forced to watch Kent Hovind videos. He was beyond excited to actually learn evolution in class. Well, that's just sad, but probably all too familiar
Happy ending.
Story. Yeah.
Happy ending though. Let's see. I think I did cover that one. So Fatman501 wrote, Kent Hovind's nonsense is funny, but I can't help but feel bad for the people in his life. I know what it's like to have a narcissistic father, an atheist, and that his abusive nature put me at odds with honor thy father. Yeah, I feel you.
Before I read this next super chat, I need to make a little rant for a second. In the live chat, right at the beginning of this show, when you were talking about that there may be a video somewhere of you using the N-word.
Right.
I got more flack from my live chat. I used to like Nickelback, the real N-word, they said, than you did for what you said. Like, literally.
For anyone who didn't catch that. For anyone who didn't catch that beginning, I don't now casually use the N-word. In my past, when I was a much different and worse person, I used it often and casually.
Yeah. Okay, Garber Kovac says, Mr. Atheist, I have a crush on you.
I have a crush on you too. I don't know who that was, but
liar.
I do. I keep telling people I'll get chats that are like, Mr. Atheist, will you be my boyfriend? I'm everybody's boyfriend. All of you.
That could go really wrong. You might not want to do that.
I'm in the largest polyamorous relationship in the world.
Until you get the one person that's like literally off the rocker and comes to your doorstep thinking, you said you were my boyfriend.
Yeah. And because I'm everybody's boyfriend, Valentine's Day and my birthday is up, and my Amazon wish list can be found. But I'm just fucking. I mean, it can, but I just thought I'd take that opportunity to be gross. Occam's Razor wrote, should I do Occam's Razors like it's Victor, even though it's not? Should I make atheist videos with my own twist, or videos at least relating to that? Or is it an oversaturated market? What do you guys think? My channel has not been out for even a year, and I've just passed 100,000 subscribers. So if it's an oversaturated market, it just became oversaturated. I think the more voices, the more people who want to come in and do this, I think that is brilliant, and I think everybody has their own twist. Everyone has their own voice. So if you feel the call to be an atheist YouTuber, give it a shot. And the worst thing that can happen is you fail. That's it.
This is a cool message. Helios575 says, I am using your show and Mr. Atheist show to de-brainwash my friends' kids who are forced to watch videos every family get together. That's high praise.
High praise. Cookie Nibs wrote, Mr. Atheist, how on earth do you call Big Dino live and not use Stewie voice? You're right. I should have. And again, I do want to say in all seriousness, don't actually call because I don't feel like dealing with if they decide they're being attacked. Yeah, look at how us Christians are being persecuted.
But you did say don't call. You never did say call. So.
I'm saying, I'm making sure everyone knows I'm 100% serious. And this is not a bit now or a joke. I'm 100% serious when I say don't call.
And this is the final one. Res Instance says Kent Hovind went to school. Allegedly, he did. Allegedly.
Yeah. Occam's Razor is back with, I've thought about it for a while. I think I will make videos like that. I will be using my Occam's Razor channel I have now. I already have an advantage over having over 200 subs. I think I'll try it. Yeah, give it a shot. If you already have that a little bit of a sub base too, that's going to be great. I think you might be sending super chats as a method of advertising, but I don't care. You're paying money, so fuck it.
Yeah, that's totally cool.
Yeah.
That's capitalism.
Yeah, that's capitalism, baby. You got any more?
No, that was the last one.
Okay, let me breeze through these. We've got Stewie Griffin voice. Smoke weed every day. Jada Storm tried to stop me from doing this. You don't actually have to say it. I don't mind saying it. And yeah, if it's legal where you are, smoke weed every day. Maybe even if it's not. That was a joke. Wink. Josiah Hansen wrote, this already is a cartoon cunt, more Aron Ra. I'd love to have Aron back, and it sounds like we're going to have Aron back because I think I'm as fascinated with all of his science and him as an educator, and it sounds like he's fascinated by my past as a Mormon, so that'll be fun. Occam's Razor back. Now that I'm starting atheist content, I think I might do a lot of live streams. Yeah, that's what he's doing, but that's okay. Love you, Occam. He gave $20 for this, so I'll read it out. Where I let other regular people just like me from the atheist community join me for discussions on streams. It will be super community focused. Good. Community focus is really good. You're going to have a hard time beating Kyle because they will have anybody on their show. And if you don't believe me, I've been on their show. Kind of on it now.
Yeah, but literally, well, that's a tough one. The crazier the better, but you can't be
boring.
I won't let it race. Yeah,
right,
boring.
that's true.
We draw the line at boring.
Yeah, boring and racist. Yeah.
Boring and racist. Now, if you're a boring racist, maybe.
Big Horny Daddy, I love that name, wrote, take my money. Bye. Hope you have a good night. I hope you have a good night, Big Horny Daddy. Maya Brunzel, once upon a time, Mr. Atheist mother. Oh, this is true. So my brother actually put this in the chat. Once upon a time, my mother's ringtone was, and by the way, I was the one who started this. We set it on all of the phones to when our mother called that it would be Stewie going, Mom, 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 Mommy, 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 Mommy. Ma, ba, ba, ba. That's true. And then she followed that up with, I'm sorry, but not. And then Gaelic Knots wrote, please check your email, sent to Super Hovind. And I did, and I showed it, and it was hilarious. We've got a couple more here. Cowboy 1000, tips for a closeted atheist in the Bible Belt. I assume you mean you are in the atheist closet, not the gay closet. Yeah. Find a community, use Meetup, find people to talk to and people to be around. And depending on where you are, you might want to just hide who you are. Like, that's the shitty thing about it. I don't know how old you are, what community you are, but if you don't feel safe, then for a while, only talk about it with people you can trust, but try and find a local community. Meetup is usually a good way to find those kinds of communities too, or just type into Facebook like atheist and the name of a city that's like a major city near you. Usually you can find some. Godless Iowan wrote, Jimmy is a sellout. Love you, buddy. That's really funny because he actually, on my Facebook page this week, was like, Jimmy is a sellout. He wasn't a sellout at 99,999, but now that he's hit 100,000, he's a sellout. I've been waiting my whole life to sell out. Listen, Mormon Church, and I mean this, $30 million and you'll never hear from me again.
That's a good price.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's, I can live with that. That is a joke. I hope nobody unsubs over, he would sell out. I mean, I don't know, 30 million on the table, maybe I would, but I don't think that's actually coming. So I'm going to say that it's not true. Marion McFarlane wrote, "Was never Mormon, but lived among them. Damn near killed me. I'm ace, and that was awful for my." I almost wrote wonderful. I don't know how I read that. And that was awful for my mental health. Thanks for what you do. Yeah, absolutely. I know that has been people who aren't interested in families or people who are asexual. Those are people who have been most hurt by religions like Mormonism that have such expectations on people with. Of people of certain genders. Twilord wrote, sings baptize me from Book of Mormon. I don't know it well enough to it's been a while since I've listened to the soundtrack, but I'll give you at least a little bit of, I believe that God lives on a planet called Kolob. I don't even think that's the right line. Mia Count wrote, baptism in Sprite and sherbet. Oh, that would be wonderful. It would tingle. It would be so tickly. Maya Brunzel wrote, for that. Yeah. Maya Brunzel wrote, it is legal where I live. It's legal where I live, too. I live in Denver, y'all. Winter Rose wrote, don't feel bad. I'm still technically a Mormon as well, and they keep sending me birthday cards. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. That is a wrap for tonight. This might have been my favorite episode of Hairline, Ad Homies, whatever we call it so far. This was a really great night. Show. It's the Kyle and Jimmy show.
The Kyle and Jimmy show.
I've just ruined everything.
Can we please do an intro video like that, please?
Yes. Are you going to be at Faithless Forum in April?
I am. I'm a speaker. I'm
going to do my best to be there. I'm like 90% there. If we're there, we need to actually record a Paul and Morgan style episode. Yes. We need to recreate it as best we can.
Until then, we need to do something like as best like. Okay, let's see if we can do a serious one real quick. Okay, ready? Mm-hmm. 1, 2, 3.
It's the Paul and oh fuck, I fucked it up. But also, this won't sync up, so this is going to be a nightmare for the audience. But we'll go with it.
Let's do it. 3. 1, 2, 3.
It's the Kyle and Jimmy, the Kyle and Jimmy show. It didn't even sync up for me.
Yes. You have to go to Faithless Forum though. But yes, I'll be there. I'm a speaker at Faithless Forum. So that's gonna be fun.
Basically, if medical stuff lines up, I'll be there. But medical stuff's always tricky. So,
sure.
Thank you to everybody who watched today. Thank you to Aron Ra for joining us. He is an absolute delight of a person. I feel like everybody only gets to see not everybody. A lot of people only get to see his strong, boom, I'm kicking your ass kind of debate style. But he's also just one of the nicest, sweetest people. I will say, we met for just a few minutes before, for the first time, we met for just a few minutes before this episode. And one of the most natural, easiest people to just start talking to right away. So nice, so kind. So I just want to make sure people know that side of him exists.
Absolutely. He's a great guy. And he works tirelessly. Let me say this. He works tirelessly for the atheist community. If you can, go to Aron. It's patreon.com/Aron Ra. And that's really important that you do that so he can continue to do what he does. So I just want to throw that out there.
He is worth the patronage. All right, that is it for us. Kyle, final thoughts, and then we'll cut to the picture of Kent Hovind. Let that run for 10 seconds, and then we'll be off air.
Hearts are wild creatures. It's why our ribs are cages.
They can still hear us. That was super deep, though.
Look at this picture.
This was I really liked this thumbnail. All right, we're going off air in 3, 2, 1.